improv, I think, or a lot of people think improv is like get on stage and like say the funniest thing you can think of. And then what you eventually realize is the tool of improv is a listening tool. Like, how well are you listening to everything that's going around you so you can be involved in the game? You don't want to miss out on the game. As soon as you can insert yourself in the game, then everything gels so nicely. And the power of literally just listening to your children is like an underestimated thing that's still even talked about. Apologizing to your children is a huge one. Listening to your children is a huge one. And they don't have your perspective, your adult experiences and perspective and thoughts and multitasking ideas. They know they're upset. Sometimes they don't even know why. And because the world's a very confusing, scary place. And if you're losing it too, then that's no way that that's going to be solved in any healthy manner.
Ever feel like you suck at this job? Motherhood, I mean. Have too much anxiety and not enough patience? Too much yelling, not enough play? There's no manual, no village, no guarantees. The stakes are high. We want so badly to get it right. But this is survival mode. We're just trying to make it to bedtime. So if you're full of mom guilt, your temper scares you, you feel like you're screwing everything up, and you're afraid to admit any of those things out loud, this podcast is for you. This is Failing Motherhood. I'm Danielle Bettman, and each week we'll chat with a mom ready to be real, sharing her insecurities, her fears, her failures, and her wins. We do not have it all figured out. That's not the goal. The goal is to remind you, you are the mom your kids need. They need what you have, you are good enough, and you're not alone. I hope you pop in earbuds, somehow sneak away, and get ready to hear some hope from the trenches. You belong here, friend. We're so glad you're here. Hey, it's Danielle. Welcome back to our Failing Fatherhood series leading up to Father's Day. Today, I am joined by Kevin LaFerriere and Evan Berger from Dumb Dads podcast. They're two stay-at-home dad comedians trying to let parents know that the struggle is normal and we're doing better than we think. You might already follow them as they have been featured on Ellen, Access Hollywood, Good Morning America, Momsplaining with Kristen Bell, and Today. Their most viral content on TikTok and Instagram has been their bits of the dad press conferences, dad performance reviews, confessions of a parent, kids can be creepy sometimes, and parenting through time montages. They've set out to be relatable dads that can poke fun out of the bizarre experience that parenting is, fight the stigma of the bar being on the floor for dads, and give parents permission to laugh at themselves and their kids, knowing they are not alone. We laugh throughout the whole conversation, but against their will, I pull some legit parenting advice out of these guys as well. We dive into how parenting is just one long game of improv and how to play yes and with your kid, as exhausting as that can be some days. At the very end, they answer the question I ask every guest, how are you, the parent your kid needs? And their answers may surprise you coming from comedians and will likely resonate with how you've felt lately. You will no doubt feel seen in this conversation, so go follow them everywhere if you haven't already, and let's dive in. Welcome to Failing Motherhood. My name is Danielle Bettman, and on today's episode, I am joined by Kevin and Evan, the dumb dads, but the dumb is silent. They are the self-pronounced experts of failing fatherhood, here to grace us with their presence today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for
having us.
I'm excited. I don't know anybody else that could be a better guest than talking about how humbling parenting is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, every day.
That's humbling. Thank you very much for saying that.
We don't get a day off from it.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? It's relentless.
Yeah, it is. It's relentless.
So I've shared a quick bio for anybody who is totally new to you. Who are you? Who's in your family?
I'm Kevin, and I've got two kids. I've got a daughter and a son, a nine-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old son. I live just down the street from Mr. Evan here with my wife and kids. And yeah, we're the dumb dads. We've been doing this since 2020, we had a podcast that we started in 2019, right before my son was born. And then we started during the pandemic doing videos. And now we've winded up here being called experts at failing fatherhood. So, all right, let's take it.
No pressure there. Hello, my name is Evan, and I'm a dumb dad. I have my beautiful wife, Katie, at home, and my son, who's 9, my daughter, who's 5, just about to be 6. And it's a breeze. This whole thing is a lie. Parenting's easy. That's all I have to say.
Yes.
Help us. Help us. We were just talking about this last night, and I think there's really something to this. That I was like, when you have little kids, it feels very overwhelming. Like babies and like little kids. It's like overwhelming, but you can still like, I'm taking them to the zoo or I'm doing this. But now like at 9 and 5, I was like, it feels like we're kind of starting to swim in open water here. We're not very close to the beach anymore. And it's really overwhelming a lot of the time because you feel stranded a lot more than you want to.
Yes.
There's real truth to that. There's like a tipping point when you realize you can no longer carry them out of a situation.
Yes.
Like when they become too heavy to like physically just like put under your shoulder and walk out of Target, it's a problem.
Yes. Physically and emotionally. It's too much. Yeah.
My son is still there. I could still carry him out, which is nice because, my oldest, it's like a trade-off, right? You have like the age where you got to carry him out because they're so unreasonable. They've just lost it.
Yeah.
We're not getting this back, at least not in this space.
Yeah.
And I feel like my daughter is definitely at an age where she's at least can be like, can you help me? And she's like, fine. But at least it's like, I have to carry him out. He's a nightmare right now.
It's like as a parent, you have to learn to use your words, which is very hard.
Yes.
Very hard.
Yes.
Very.
You got to practice what you preach more than you maybe thought you would have.
Yes, exactly. So you guys are both stay-at-home dads. Am I under the right impression? How long has that been the case?
That's always been the case. When I know that's pretty much the same thing with Evan. Both of our wives work in day jobs, and I was bartending at the time before we had any kids. I was bartending nights, and there was no overlap of us working. It was like she got off at 6 and I went in at 7 or 8. So it was like, there's actually a buffer time there too, where we see each other. It was like, if we started having kids, like this would be a good gig. I could be a stay-at-home dad during the day and then bartend a couple nights a week. And so we've always kind of done that. We've kind of transitioned not out of it because when the kids come home from school and stuff like that, then we are back in charge. Although I did talk about on our latest podcast about how I've kind of switched roles because the Dumb Dads has kind of become a business where I am like working now days and my wife is in between production right now. So she's not working. So she now takes the kids, which is like a weird situation. So in my house, it's kind of flipped now. Now my wife is kind of the stay-at-home mom for the first time in 7.5 years. And I was the stay-at-home dad, obviously a little bit of a reprieve while they're at school. But it was definitely it's definitely a strange situation, but I've definitely been doing it for a long time. I know Evan's still stay-at-home dad for the most part.
Yeah, same. And it was always the plan as well. I mean, it just schedule-wise worked out perfectly. I mean, Kevin and I are both actors, so we were, basically have to be available all the time anyway for auditions and all these things, and always trying to navigate our jobs or whatever. Like Kevin said, bartending, working nights. I'd worked like odd jobs, that would like not take up too much of my day or time. And it just, then you look at the price of daycare and it's like, hey, I've got an idea. We can save that much money. And that basically becomes my salary, if as a stay-at-home dad without having to pay that money. So
we won't see it.
We won't see it.
We won't see that money.
And there's no way to move up in the company really, but yeah, so it always just kind of made sense. And so,
sure.
I mean, both of us were, it's like, not only did it make sense, but I was excited to do it. I didn't even think about the stigma or boy, it's rare or anything. It was just like, oh, I'd love to do that. It was just so that was always the intention. And it just, just worked out in our benefit for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And have you fully embraced like the uniform of like slippers and a robe, or what type of like preconceptions have you embraced, or what things are you trying to like bash as stigma and misconceptions?
Oh my gosh. It's the easy answer is like, I like wear shorts a lot. Same ones a couple days in a row.
Who's counting?
But there's also much deeper things we both experience as stay-at-home dads. Like you take your kids to the read-along at the library, and it's like, oh, you're such a good dad. What a good dad you are. And it's like, how do you know that? because I came here with my, that's not fair to the moms that are here with 4 kids or me, really. You don't know anything about me.
Yeah.
And so part of the things we've tried to change through our account, through our comedy and our point of view of what it's like to be a failing parent, acknowledging the mistakes you make, is like, let's pick the bar of fatherhood up off the floor and carry it around for a while. Don't need to be too presentable about it, but that's definitely an underlying thing that we try to put into our content. I mean, the dumb is silent. Just a dad here trying to do my best. Sometimes it's not great, but I acknowledge that. I'm still trying to get better every day at being the best parent to my children as I can be.
It's funny you asked about the stigma of the slippers in the robe. I kind of made it a point when I was home to like change in the morning. I didn't want to be in the same outfit I slept in. But having said that, now that my wife is stay at home and I'm now like working, but I'm working from home. So, but I like shut myself away in the office. I like a couple times like last week, like went to go to bed and went, all right, well, you got to change out of yesterday's pajamas.
I know. I was gonna say I don't like to work in the thing I slept in, but what I put on, I will go to sleep.
Yeah, what I put. So I've definitely, have shifted that. When it's funny dropping my kids off at school, there is like 1 or 2 moms that I have seen that are full, like the pajama suit, like the button up with the pants, a robe and slippers, and like the mug. And like the hair straight out of the dryer. And I just want to walk up to them, shake their hands, because I'm just like, good for you. Like that's
full commitment.
Full commitment. I mean, it literally looks like a commercial. Like you'd see a commercial and go, that's a bit far. But like I've seen a couple of drop off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, good for you. Hats off.
Respect for just owning it.
Own it.
Yes. You were doing more important things this morning.
You were doing more important things.
We respect you for it.
Yes. 100%. 100%.
Yeah. If I look great and we're late, we're still late. So,
right.
This is me.
We're all getting there 10 minutes late.
This is me. This is my person. This is who I am this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Take it or leave it. Yes. So talking about lifting the bar off of the floor, what's the most like patronizing compliment you've gotten? I mean, you mentioned one already about like, oh, you took your kids to the library.
Oh, the most patronizing. I mean, that was the big one. Same thing. Like I also went to story time a lot. Mm-hmm. And that was definitely the reaction. I did think this is like not quite answering your question, but I remember something patronizing that I did get that I'll never forget. I've talked about it before, is when my daughter was like, it was before my son was born. So she got to be under 3, and it was our apartment that we lived in. Was walking distance to like the pet shop. So what I would do is I'd get the little red radio flyer and I'd set up a little blanket. And I would seat my daughter in there, and then I would pull her to the pet shop. We'd buy the dog food, throw the big bag on there. She'd sit with her back against it, and that would be a little trip. We'd do that once every like 3 months or something. And I'm bringing her, and I'm pulling the radio flyer, going there, and I hear from across the street, "You got to talk to her, Dad." And I look, and I just see like some woman across the street, and she's looking at me like annoyed, and she's like, "You got to talk to them. You got to talk to your kid." And I was like, what? I don't like, out of like, I don't know if it's pride or arrogant, whatever. I was just like, I don't want to talk to her now for the rest of the day. Just to like prove this woman.
Make a point.
I won't do what you tell me to do. And I was so like taken aback. I just went, yeah, I know. How? With my mouth do I talk? How do I talk? And I've been talking. She's not really talking back. It was just so funny. It was just such like she just clocked. If that was like, it's one of the few things where it's like so much is just easier for dads. We very much acknowledge that. I'm not going to pretend it's hard for dads, but there's like 1 or 2 things. And one of them is like that woman that saw a mom not talking to her kid, carrying him on like, pulling him on a radio flyer. She's like, good for that mom. And then the flip side of it would be like, oh God, if I don't say something, she's going to fall off and that dad's not going to notice.
Yeah.
I have no idea. No clue.
And he's going to turn around and see there's no kid on there. He's probably going to keep going to the pet store. I'll get her on the way back. Like probably what she was thinking.
Typical dad.
Yeah.
Help me unload this into the garage. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
You forgot something.
I would say the example I use is about, it's about the most patronizing thing, anything in the vicinity of like treating a stay-at-home dad like some unicorn or something that is, I mean, I get it. There's not as many stay-at-home dads, but it also doesn't feel like just the idea that you're doing that is a huge, should be some reward. The other thing too is something in the same vicinity as Kevin's is once in a while, it's like if you're in the store and the kids are, run around a little bit and somebody kind of gives the eye like, man, babysitting today, huh? It's like, no, these are my children. I'm not babysitting my
babysitters get paid. Yeah. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Where's my paycheck? They get paid well, I might add.
I would love to babysit my kids, but then it's just my wife taking money out of her wallet, putting it in my wallet, which she'll eventually take out of her wallet. It's a mess. It's a mess.
But being both comedians, we know it's like none of it really ever got too far other than like we would tell each other. Guess what this lady said to me at the library today? And it's like, oh my God, it doesn't really, it's water off a duck's back for us. I mean, it's, we can be a lot more mean to each other if we felt like it just for ribbing each other back and forth. But when somebody says something like that, it was more just like, man, really?
Yeah.
I guess we're still there. Okay. We got more work to do.
I love that gut instinct where you're like, now I'm not going to talk to her the whole rest of the day just to prove a point. Because that is exactly how my husband would react to that.
In spite of that lady.
Just because you told me to.
Yeah.
I was going to anyway, but now that you said that, I'm not going to.
Yeah. I think I like, because I, as a person who writes comedy, I like to just tell jokes to myself all the time. I think I whispered it to my daughter. I was like, hey, I hope it's cool. I'm not going to talk to you the rest of the day. She's not even looking. She's just trying to eat a fly.
Yeah.
Flying by or something.
Lots of dog food.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how you walk the line between like making really relatable, anecdotal content that also isn't disparaging to your kids, that also isn't like, I hate it here and I hate them and like they're the worst, is there a gut check that you go through before you hit post on something where you're like, is this too mean? Or like, how do you find that line?
Well, one line is the wife, and that's like, can I say this on the internet? And then, so that's a good filter to run something through. Yeah. Like that, well, that's just seems mean. Where's the joke part of it? So I'm going to do a rewrite. But I would say mostly just when we first started our podcast, it was like the first thing that we started was actually our podcast. And we decided, and it was like right before Kevin had his second kid. So we thought like this way, it'll be a more of an honest conversation each week about being a father and from like day one, your responsibility from day one. But we also had a discussion. I remember thinking also it just can't be like dunking on how annoying the kids are, because that's like the same thing of like, let me show you yet another picture of my kid. Like it gets old after a while. No one really cares that much. Like, yeah, I get it. You think your kids are annoying, but like, that's not really, I don't think that's as relatable as it is to hear the account of your experience. And then again, like we don't put our kids in any of our videos or any of our content. And that would be a different way of then including and putting them in our content. If we, spoke about them all the time, and then here we're putting this out there for other parents, relatability, but really the relatability lies in sharing the experience of being the parent. Not necessarily like my kid's more annoying than yours and here's how. And then, just of course, put it on the internet. It's probably going to be there forever in some way. So they go back and listen to it. And it's like, did you like being my dad? Like that. We didn't want that either. So we just try to find the lens or the filter that we put everything through is like, here's how I feel as a dad, or here's where I screwed up. But if you really think about it, here's the funny parts of that. Let's write it around that. Let's focus on that part of it.
Yeah. Just kind of to bounce off that, I think what we also found was it's very similar to like the picture thing, but also another example I can give is when somebody's like, oh, my kid said the funniest thing. And you're like, okay. And
then they did.
And then they tell you, and it's like, especially if you don't know the kid like that well,
right.
It's like not a kid you visit regularly or whatever, because you guys are, play dates or whatever. You're just kind of like, oh, wow, that's... They do say things.
Yeah, if you're struggling
it's like,
to not say...
It's always just funnier to you, and that's fine. Like, my kids are hilarious. My children are genuinely make me laugh so hard. My daughter's regularly like, why do you laugh at that? And I have to like explain it to her. But it's not going to be funny on a podcast. It's definitely not going to be funny in a video. And we just think the experience of parenting is so funny because... And other comedians have definitely tackled this exact subject of just like Tommy John again is a stand-up. I saw him on Last Comic Standing years ago, But he made a joke about just like, nobody ever got drunk and woke up and built a shed. But like, you can get drunk one night and make a child. Like, and it's just like that idea of just like, just no expertise involved. You're just thrown into it. Like, we've made videos in the past about like leaving the hospital with your first child is one of the craziest experiences of your life.
So bizarre.
Like, it's so bizarre, vivid. Like, that's like a core memory for you of just like the drive home, the feeling of like not abandonment, but like, well, we're really on our own here. And they didn't much care. They were just like, good luck. I need your bed. And that was like probably the first thing that was like, that's interesting about parenting. And then after that, it was just like the experience of us not doing a good job is hilarious. And then, and I think we dabbled. I'm not going to pretend we knew right away. I think when we were making our videos, our content, like the podcast was always focused on like our real lives, but the videos, I think we just dabbled in like all aspects of parenting. And then the stuff that really started hitting was like our thoughts and opinions, stuff we said that were like, this is a weird thing. I don't think anybody's going to get this.
This is too specific.
And then that would blow up. And the amount of people that were like, me too, me too, me too. You were just like, oh, okay. That's really interesting. And then we kind of just started riding with that. It's like, all right, the experience of being a parent is much more fun than like how annoying your kids are. All our kids are annoying at some points.
Yeah.
100%. You live with anyone, they're going to get on your nerves. But I think the funniest aspect is just like, how do you navigate that? How you didn't navigate that. Like,
Yep.
I think that's part of why the press conferences are so popular, is because like, if every day were a game, like you are not a good team.
No.
A 500 squad.
Losing streak.
You snap your hand off for a 500, like, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. I'll take that.
There wouldn't be a lot of people at the stadium, is what I'm saying. A lot of empty seats.
Yeah.
Well, and I think you really have hit that nail on the head of like finding the humor in the lived experience of just how bizarre and weird some of the situations are that you find yourself in as a parent, and being able to make that kind of a self-depreciation that other parents can appreciate is like really, finding your audience. And I know that you have definitely hit a nail on the head of like, some of the most viral stuff, but was there anything that like totally surprised you where it was so specific and so like anecdotal where you're like, no one will relate to this, and then like everybody on the internet related?
I have one that I posted that I was like, some days got the idea for 2 days. Other times, I'm sure Kevin is like this as well, because we work on a lot of stuff together, but once, then a couple days a week, it's like, I'll post something, he'll post something. And I made this video that I thought, I didn't even think like it's not going to do well. I just thought this is kind of funny to me. And it was about like asking your kid, how was school today? What happened at school? Nothing. And it's like, okay. And, and that happens like throughout the afternoon. You ask them a question, like, nothing, not really, whatever. And then you read them a bedtime story and they chat your ear off about what happened that day.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, you have all this time to talk to me throughout the day. And now is when we're doing it, when we're like trying to go to bed. And so I just made a video about how funny I thought that was. And it like went super viral. And everyone's like, why is this the time that oh yes, definitely. This is, well, they'll open up to you. This is one of the times where I have the best chats with my kid. And it was like, I like learned something by posting that, thinking like, this is kind of funny. And everyone's like, yeah, that's like that's when they do that. And that's one of the best times to have a conversation like that with your kid or whatever. And then even something as simple as that actually made bedtime a little easier. Knowing it's not just your kid. Knowing it's not just my kid. That's like, I want to not be a parent for just like an hour.
Yeah.
I want to go out, sit in the living room, fall asleep to a show on the couch and go to bed and then do it tomorrow. But now we're talking for like an hour about the new lunchbox somebody brought to school. Like, what is going on? I just was totally unaware that was such a common thing for all parents.
Yeah, I think mine was, I think I already mentioned it, but I had some in Confessions of a Parent when I started doing those, and it was like sneaking in cabinets and in the like dishwasher pods and just admitting like secrets that I do as a parent to cut corners and things like that. Those started doing really well, and people like were resonating with them. Another one I did, like I said, I mentioned was I did a hospital one of like leaving. It was just like I filmed it outside. I was the nurse, and then I was also the parent who was just like, "What do you mean we're leaving? Like you're not coming with me? I don't understand. Like you were just coming in here to like remind me to change diapers and for my wife to breastfeed. And now it's like, see ya.
No,
hope you got enough stuff. Like
I felt like the car I'm going to drive away in, I had to study and pass a written test and prove to somebody else that I could drive it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like, here's a person. Good luck.
Yeah.
Just sign on the dotted line that you won't shake them, please. That's all we need to know.
That's pretty much it. Like, the weight of responsibility that you feel driving home is like, where was this? No one talked about this part.
Yeah.
I did make up a joke once that was like not my experience. The parenting through time videos that we do take place in like 50s, 80s, 90s, and then today parenting. God, I sound like a radio host when I say that. But I was doing the 80s dad, and he was like, I'd already done like maybe 2 videos, and I was like, he just says ridiculous things. And I kind of was like, didn't know what to say. So I was like, I'll just make something up. So I have him like send his kid to the roof to jiggle the antenna. And I was like, that's dumb, whatever. And I put it on there. And like multiple people were like, oh, dude, same. My dad sent me on the roof so often to fix the antenna. I was like, wait, what? Like, I just was like, that's too far. I jumped the shark a little bit.
Like, this is so stereotypical that it's not even true.
Right.
Like,
and then people were like, no, yeah, me in the winter. I was like, okay.
What? I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy you're still with us.
It's like a movie quote that like nobody happens in real life, or like, no, that's really how people are parented. And yikes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
How are any of us here?
Yeah.
It's a great question. No seatbelts. Didn't know where we were.
No.
It's fine. No. Yeah.
It's all fine.
Any other surprisingly like universal themes that pop up in your comments of just parents that needed to know, like, oh, I'm not alone? Do you feel like there's like a universal theme of just like, I don't know any other parents in real life, so I need to kind of connect and have a feeling of connection? What do you feel like are some of those patterns?
I think one of the nicer ones that we've gotten over the years has been stay-at-home dads in like specifically like the Midwest. So we're in Los Angeles. As Evan said, we're actors, so stay-at-home dads aren't as rare out here. And I'm sure it's the same probably in like New York or somewhere else that have similar situations. But especially in like the Midwest, I know it's very rare. And we've definitely gotten some like DMs from dads. We definitely get it from moms too. And that was another like great thing. We were just making content to make content. And I think we just kind of we got lucky. We just hit that perfect formula of like dads who stay home. So like we were resonating and are hopefully still resonating with stay-at-home moms, but also stay-at-home dads. And the DMs we get from stay-at-home dads are like, I really appreciate this and need this. I feel alone out there. I'm the only guy at story time. I'm the only guy at my gym places and stuff like that.
Or my friends think it's weird. As specific as that my guy friends are like
always giving them a hard time or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, I think just like acknowledging that it's hard and trying to make it funny is definitely our universal theme, because I think about this a lot. And I know a lot of parents do, is like, how many times do you have like a hard day with your kids? It was just a struggle. And either the cliche of they go to bed and you come across a photo, time hop sends you something and you're like, I want to go in there and climb in bed with them. Mm-hmm. Or just the day ends nice, which sometimes happens. Sometimes it does not end nice at all. And but sometimes it ends nice, and it's just like that's just such a good example of parenting and what makes it like special and different. And I think what we like to do with our content is like, I don't think we need to. I mean, we don't have enough time. It's only like a minute to minute and a half. But like, we don't need to have like a little mushy full house moment at the end of our videos. Just like acknowledge the hard parts and assume it's good. We've definitely gotten like a couple negative comments here and there of people probably just having a bad day, if we're being honest. And they're saying stuff like, you guys are always talking about how hard and bad parenting is. Can't you just say a nice thing about it?
Or can't you guys seem to lose? Can't you just win one or come out on top? And it's like,
and I've seen somebody comment on that. Not us. Somebody comment on that going, well, they're obviously involved parents. They're just having fun. And I was like, thank you.
We're bringing laughter to the hard parts. It's the fun win that you had a great day at, the zoo and everyone came back with something and that's not funny.
Yeah.
That's great. glad you had.
Hey, everybody, just letting you know we had a good day.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Everyone listened.
Yeah. We're over here. Yeah. We got ketchup all over the kitchen.
Also, I don't think Instagram specifically needs more videos of how perfect someone's life is
No.
for you to doom scroll
please don't
see.
contribute. Yeah.
I will say this. Another one of the ways in which we realized that maybe we were more rare, or that what we were doing was maybe filling a void that we didn't know needed to be filled, was once things started to take off a little bit and we kind of found our footing. You can look at your analytics, and it was like our following was like 80%, 75, 80% women, moms. And we always thought like, yeah, let's talk about, no one really talked about being a dad. Let's talk about being dads. Let's make sketches about being dads. I mean, not too many people really do that. There's probably a niche we can make there. And the overwhelming response we got from moms right away was like, oh, whoa. How many times like I feel seen watching your videos was like, did not expect those kinds of comments.
Yeah.
You guys are literally talking about my frustrations I feel as a stay-at-home mom. And we were like, whoa, I did not expect that. And I'll say on the opposite side of that, one of the most alarming comments we get all the time, and we get it a lot, is, do you have cameras in my house? Because this is exactly what's happening. And we're like, no, that's so problematic. No, we don't have cameras in your house.
I don't know your Nest password.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a different way of people saying how seen they feel, but it's like, oh, that's such a wild way of saying that.
Yeah.
But I get that from clients as well, where they're like, I watched your training and I looked, because I swore I saw you like looking over our shoulder over like the last moment we were just parenting. And that is like a really high compliment, because it just means that like it hits so deeply and it's so validating. And I didn't feel like I had words for that. And now you just put the words in for me. And like, that's such a win. Here's the deal. If your child is sensitive and smart, yet loses it, is clingy, or aggressive with you at home, they can go 0 to 60 over the smallest things, like when they just don't get their way, nothing changes their mind, and they can't seem to get over it, and you know what you're doing isn't working, and siblings are starting to suffer. You could go to therapy yourself and take your child to therapy and follow all the experts and ask your family and friends for advice and take a course and set up a calm down corner and read all the parenting books and still feel defeated. It's time. It's time to learn the missing pieces of invaluable insight about their temperament that unlocks compassion in you and understanding of how to work with the way they're wired. It's time to communicate in new ways, like a hostage negotiator, to get through to them and cultivate cooperation with confidence. And it's time to eliminate the behaviors that are working to gain control and attention at their root, rather than playing whack-a-mole. Calm and Confident, the masterclass, is for you. There, you will master the kind and firm approach your strong-willed child needs without crushing their spirit or walking on eggshells. In this free training, I share the 4 critical kind and firm scripts that unlock cooperation in every situation, how to eliminate behaviors at their root, and the path to solidifying the open and honest relationship that you want to have with your child down the road. So go to parentingwholeheartedly.com/confident to access this exclusive on-demand training immediately. That's parentingwholeheartedly.com/confident. That link will be in the show notes. But I do love that, like, you know, you talk about how we don't mention the mushy gushy stuff about parenthood, but that's kind of like assumed. I was actually watching something about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and Rob McElhenney was talking about how the characters do these like absolutely ridiculous, misogynistic, homophobic, like terrible racist things.
Yeah.
And the funny part of it comes from knowing that the actors are in no way any of those things.
Right.
Yeah.
And that, I feel like, is what we see intrinsically when we watch content from you guys. It's like they're so naturally self-depreciating, and you can appreciate that because you know that they're working really hard at being good dads, and that they probably are really good dads, and they love the heck out of their kids. And that's why we can take this like gap and make fun of it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's really your lane. Like knowing that you're not actually terrible people who have like this resentment growing, because that would make it really uncomfortable to laugh at.
It's true.
Thank you.
There's a way to, the other way we say like the perfect Instagram accounts or whatever is like, it otherwise it could come off as preachy if you don't do it right. And we thought like, well, why don't we, there's like a sneaky way to talk about being an involved parent and the things you're focusing on by talking about how hard those things are to do and the funny ways in which you fail at them. And so,
yes,
I know we call ourselves the dumb dads, but there's a little bit of layering there that we stumble upon once in a while.
And it's fun to play the villain.
It's fun to play the villain. Yeah.
Yes. To embrace the stereotype. Yes.
Yeah.
Which is funny in itself. And I feel like there is a crossroads you find yourself in a lot as a parent, where you have the choice to genuinely get really frustrated or find a way to be playful, find a way to play it off, dismiss it, make it a bit, not take it personally, and be goofy. And you find yourself at that crossroads. And sometimes you don't have the wherewithal, the capability, and you just, let yourself go. And you kind of just spiral, and then you regret it later, of course.
And then you write a sketch and you film it, and then you that's what we do.
And you monetize it
and
to
then
pay
you're like,
for
okay,
everyone's.
I'm not the only parent. Yes. But then when I feel like you guys do have a genuine leg up, and like this is a legit question, because I'm coming from like a parenting coaching background.
Yeah.
I feel like you do have a leg up because you are improv trained. And
interesting.
I genuinely, like, there's an element of my program where I try to have parents practice and strengthen the skill of improv in parenting, because that's basically what parenting is.
Oh, yeah.
It's one long sketch.
Yeah.
And you have to like, yes, and you don't really have a choice. And the more that you try to like shut it down, it blows up in your face.
Hey, you realize how many no's you give to a kid. It's not a good reaction.
Yeah.
No, it kills it. And it's awful.
That's the game.
You get boos from the crowd.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. It really is. So it's basically a huge improv game.
Yeah.
It is definitely that. I wish it was more like improv, because in improv you do something called object work, where you pretend to hold a cup, and in real life everything's wet.
Yeah, I saw wet. Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah.
Yes.
But no,
and there's no cheering or laughing.
There is,
no one's clapping.
Somebody's laughing somewhere.
There's a barometer of how you're doing overall.
Yeah. There's definitely been times where, you have to like shift your game, if we're going to stay with the improv thing. I think there's definitely a way where you have to shift your game sometimes, because I've definitely, we all have, like, just stayed like, bullish and just kind of on our road of just like, no, this is how we're doing it. And just like meltdown city.
Yep.
And then it's been going on for too long. You take a breath and you go in the room, you get down on their level, and right away it's solved. And you're like, oh, damn it. Like, part of me wishes this didn't work, because now I feel guilty about the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I don't want my kid to be upset, but like at the same time, if I try it and go, well, I tried it, nothing's working.
Yeah.
But then it does work, and you go, right. Because you just needed, like, you look to us for emotional guidance so often. And if we're not giving the right reaction to stuff, or acknowledging that you're spiraling out of control, and we're not in any way helping that, keep going, keep spiraling out of control then. But once we come back to the table and, like you said, yes, and what they're saying, then it turns around. So it's funny you say that. I've definitely never considered that. I've always said that improv has been. I did improv at first in my like early 20s with my wife, and we did the Upright Citizens Brigade in New York, and we did that whole program, and I was fine at it. My wife was much better than me, and I was like happy I did it when I did it. And it's never too late to do it, to do improv. I definitely encourage people, whether you're in the arts or not, to do it. It's so important. We actually had a lot of lawyers doing it who had like no entertainment career aspirations, and they would do it because they're like, it's a good thing to have. And now that I'm not in my early 20s, it is great. It's like marinated with me, and it's definitely like become a part of my life. I'm not taken off guard as much. Obviously it's harder with children, but like I am like more adaptable, I feel like, to things in life, because it's just like at any point somebody can say something wild and just be ready for it.
Got to go with it.
It's a tool. I mean, it's like literally a tool,
Yeah.
And improv, I think, where a lot of people think improv is like get on stage and like say the funniest thing you can think of. And then what you eventually realize is the tool of improv is a listening tool. Like, how well are you listening to everything that's going around you so you can be involved in the game? You don't want to miss out on the game. As soon as you can insert yourself in the game, then everything gels so nicely. And the power of literally just listening to your children is like an underestimated thing that's still even talked about. Apologizing to your children is a huge one.
Yeah.
Listening to your children is a huge one. And we were talking about this the other day as well. It's like they don't have your perspective, your adult experiences and perspective and thoughts and multitasking ideas. They know they're upset. Sometimes they don't even know why. And because the world's a very confusing, scary place. And if you're losing it too, then that's no way that's going to be solved in any healthy manner. It's so important to, and again, I'll say it too. It's not easy because some moments you're like, how did we go from laughing in the car to a meltdown in Target? It was less than 5 minutes. And now we're at a 10.
Whiplash. Yeah.
Yeah. Whiplash. Now we're in public, which is fine. That never really bothers me too much, but it's still like a thing. It's like I'm usually more worried. I'm not worried about the kid. I'm more worried about the people around me. Like, all right, let's chill out here. Like, apologies, everybody. Like, we'll solve this, and like get down. That's when you can talk to them there. And like, if that's where that needs to happen, that's fine. You can offer them should we step out for a minute but that, listening is a huge, huge advantage as a parent if you can learn to do that. So yes, take improv classes.
Yes. I actually I drug my husband to like a 6 or 8 week improv class, Improv 101 in Omaha before COVID, actually. And the show, I don't think I've ever been more terrified than doing like the show at the end.
Yes. Yeah. It's not great. You all know none of you are good at it.
Yeah.
Like, it's 101.
It's cringy in real time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But you know what? Like,
did you have friends go?
No, it was just the two of us. And we didn't. Everybody else was
meant to the show. Did you have friends come to the show?
We did not invite anyone we knew.
There you go. I knew it.
Key move. That's what they say. Like the first few times you go to improv, they're like, invite your friends and family. Like, I don't think so.
No, it passed.
So 101.
Yeah. Why would I just give them like all this ammunition against me? No, I'm not going to do that.
They're all just sitting there in the audience going, why is everyone saying yes and every 5 seconds?
This is not funny. But the hardest part of it for me was when you had to like think of a story that was connected to this topic, because I have ADHD and I have like no object permanence. I can't remember I existed 5 years ago, let alone like a great story that I can like share on this particular topic. So I always froze on those ones. But like the A to Z and, some of that constant kind of adaptability, that I felt like, okay, this is my lane. This is how I can kind of train my brain and actually get better at this. And I see that with parenting all the time. It makes me so happy that you named it as like the main goal is listening, because in my practice with parents, there's a quote that I read all the time, and it says, the more you tell your child it's not a big deal, the more they feel like they have to escalate how big of a deal it really is to them. So often we inadvertently like get these blowups because we're blowing them off. We're not listening. We're obsessed about how much they're not listening, but we're not listening to them. And they feel like they're beating their head against the wall. And so, of course, they're going to say it louder or bigger or like, just lose their ability because they're so frustrated that we're not listening. And when you practice this, it does genuinely make you listen better and actually realize what they're mad at or actually hear what they're saying. And that's that you can use that then to be like, all right, I see where you're at. I get it. It's a really big deal to you. Here's the problem, though. And you actually like get their engagement and like figuring it out. And it makes a huge difference and builds your credibility and trust and like your whole relationship and your confidence as a parent, too. When you're like, oh, wow, I actually just like managed that. And we got out of a jam. And like, here we are 2 minutes later on the other side of the backlash. And like, I feel awesome. Like there's no better feeling as a parent than getting out of that jam.
Yes,
it is. Yeah, when you get out of it like on the first try, it's pretty magical and wonderful. I I've been working on, I saw a video, I don't know how long ago it was. Evan and I were talking yesterday how time doesn't make sense anymore.
Time is a flat circle. It has no.
Might have been last
makes no
week.
difference.
Might have been a year ago. It was definitely more than a week ago.
I believe you.
But it was like it's similar, pretty much in the same lane of what you're talking about of listening and help de-escalate. I remember I heard somebody say, stop saying to your kids when they hurt themselves, you're okay. And I have been working on that. If I do say it, I like adjust it really quick because it's like, what are you talking about? Like, what an insane thing to say. Like, they've fallen, they've cut your knee. And I understand why we say it. They scrape their knee. Your leg's not going to fall off. The bone's not broken. And even if it is, we'll set it. Like, the idea of like, you're okay is, so I get it. It's to reassure them. But at the same time, it feels negating to their feelings of they're just like, I'm not okay right now. That hurt and is scary. And so I'm definitely not like, wow, we might lose the leg. Don't go the other way. But I definitely try to, that's definitely like my big adjustment that I've worked on of like, okay, like it was like, how are you feeling? Does it hurt or was it scary? Things like that, like make it a conversation more than like you're okay. Everyone's looking at you.
Yes. Read the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in the middle of a great story.
Yeah.
And now this has happened. There's no way I can go back to it.
Yes. It's so true though. They're basically screaming at you, I am not okay.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you're okay.
Yeah. Oh.
Like negating what they're saying the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bad improv.
Bad
improv. Yes. So can you think of a moment where you genuinely were like making a bit out of the moment where, for example, at bedtime when like the routine is just dragging on, nobody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I pretend that I'm basically an alien ambassador. I've never been to Earth. Here we are. What is this? I don't understand what you do with this tool. Who are you? Where are we supposed to go? Where you're just like playing naive and innocent. And then all of a sudden they're telling you everything they're supposed to be doing. And look at that. We cooperated.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself in similar moments?
I tricked you.
Yes.
Yeah. I love doing, what's funny is like, I love doing bits with my kids when it comes to things like that, adjusting into, well, this isn't going to work if I just tell them to go do it. And then playing dumb is really funny. I mean, to me with my kids, all the way down to like, it was goofing around in the car, turning and they were bickering back there. And it's like, guys, come on, what's going on? And then we quickly turn it into something else to where we can be laughing again. And then I say something funny and the kids say it again. And I say it again. And they're like, no. And then it's like, and then I'm like, what do you mean? I don't get it. Then it's like playing dumb to the kids is such a fun bit to do, to the point now my son starts doing in bits where if, like make a comment on something like too much ketchup comes out of the bottle. It's like, whoa, would you like any more ketchup? Then he'll go on it and he'll like go for 5 minutes when it's like, all right, it's over. He'll explore like every aspect of the joke and saying, I love that we're having fun here, but the joke was dead like forever ago.
You just got to go to the light switch improv and just hit the switch, hit it back.
Yeah.
Scene's over. Sorry. I missed that window.
I got to adapt that. It's cash. We got to move on.
My son, it's funny because it definitely walks the line of like, all right, Dad, is like my son. He's obsessed with dinosaurs, loves them, and come bedtime. We don't do this every night, but when we do it, he loves it. It's his favorite thing. But it's probably, this is all a little manipulative, but whatever. We got to get to bed, and it's like he's like, no, I don't want to go to bed. I don't want to go to bed. And I was like, do you guys hear that? I was like, I think there's a T-Rex around the corner. And then he's like, oh no. And then I just like pretend to be a T-Rex and start like slowly chasing him down the halls, roaring at him. And he's laughing the whole way. But like the rule is if he's changing into pajamas, the T-Rex doesn't eat him. Doesn't make any sense, but he follows the rules. And then he gets there. And then by the time I get to the dresser, he says freeze. And I have to freeze. And I just stay in dinosaur form. Then he gets dressed. And it's like, this is great. In my head, I'm like, it works.
Yeah. Whatever works. Whatever works that's not yelling and like crying.
Exactly.
Right.
He's laughing.
It's a win.
It's a win.
Which parenting book did you find that in?
I think the mighty book of frustrations. I think I just did it one night, and I was like, that went way better than I expected.
That was at the bottom of the barrel. When you tried everything else, it didn't work. And it's like, all right, I'll just be. What do you want me to be, a dinosaur?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some inspirational quote about how desperation creates innovation or something.
That's what my buddy actually has that. And he said, I love when my kids tell me I'm bored. My buddy's telling me, my kids will say, I'm bored. And it's like, oh, great. Because some of the most important innovations and inventions of our lifetime have come from being bored. So I'm really excited to see what you come up with. And they'll just be like,
oh that's insufferable, Dad.
Insufferable. But he's like, that's my favorite thing. Especially when there's like, because otherwise, like, you're bored. You could play a video game.
Oh,
you could read a book.
We could belabor this point.
How much time you got? I could list 1,000 things in a row that you could be doing right now, but he just lays it on like, oh, that's fantastic news.
But if I was the kid and that dad said that to me, now I'm back to the radio flyer with my daughter. I was like, well, now I'm not going to create anything ever because I'm so annoyed that you said that.
See what I invent now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when we're like, oh, I'm so glad my kid is like me. This is so fun.
Yeah, it's never great.
Yeah. No matter what you do, you can do anything you want. They're going to be just like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it or not. There's a game we would play where we just like, create a fantasy where when they won't like stop hyperfixating about something that's not going their way, or they don't want to do something, like it's bath time and we're not going to get out of bath time. It is bath time, but they just like won't belabor the point that they don't want to take a bath. Well, it's like, what if we never had to take baths? Wouldn't that be great? What if we just had like a button on our bodies and like when we press the button, boom, we were clean.
Yeah.
Where would your button be? I would put mine on my elbow. Well, the problem with that would be, and you just heard like
your elbow.
Yeah.
I mean, what if we could have it maybe on my glasses, or then you're talking the whole time that you're just like silently taking their clothes off and filling the water and getting in anyway. And oh, look at that. Yeah, we played out this whole fantasy about not having a bath while we're still getting a bath. And, should not be mistaken, they're not getting out of the bath. Ever. You just don't have to get so angry about making them enjoy it or get excited about it.
Right.
Like, there's really playful ways where you can just continue to build momentum.
It's all the transitions. Yeah, once they're in there, we're good. Then they don't want to get out.
That was going to be that's one of the things that it's like endlessly frustrating as a parent, that there's no real like, is when it's like it took 15 minutes to convince them to get in the bath, whatever method worked, playing the game or whatever. But it was like, God, that took 20 minutes. And all I want to do is, hey, can you go take a bath? Great. Yes. And then they're in there for 90 minutes and you can't convince them to get out of the bath. It's like, oh man, if you only knew. If you were my friend and behaved like that, probably wouldn't be friends very long. Yeah.
The emotional abuse.
Yeah.
The toxicity in this relationship.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can we go out? Let's go out. I don't want to go out. Come on, let's go out. I'll have one drink. Come on. And it's like
we gotta
2 a.m. Like,
we gotta go home.
Go. No, I'm having fun.
That's a friend with a different problem.
Yeah, it's a friend with a different problem.
Yeah. We should maybe have a serious conversation. But we can play out the fantasy too as parents of like, wouldn't it be so nice if our kids just said yes every time we asked them to do something? Oh, that would be so great.
Yeah.
The problem is,
I don't know.
We spend energy both ways. We either spend it getting really frustrated and then picking up the pieces after the meltdown, and it takes time and it takes energy and we have a hangover, or we put in the effort in the front end and we put the effort in and we're playful and then we get it done, and it's usually in less time. But we have to remind ourselves, we have to get like a pep talk about it. And when you do, I swear it is still the best high when you can high five your kid and be on the same team coming out of that bathroom rather than worst enemies. Yeah. And just feeling like, wow, I need to give up on this.
Yeah. You're right. It would be nice if they just did everything you asked as soon as you asked whatever, it would be nice. But that doesn't exist. It does not exist.
Yeah. Make peace with that reality.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
And if your kid does, that's almost kind of concerning. Like, you should check on them and maybe they're really
right. And if you really develop a good relationship with your kids, and once in a while when you really do need to ask them, hey, look, I need you to like kind of be on my team right now and we got to get this done right now. They're usually kind of game for that. If much more of the relationship has been built on we are a team. Yes, I help you. You help me. And when you're feeling down, I'm going to help you and everything. And then, hey, listen, a teammate, I got to ask you this. We need to go to Target and get something. We have 5 minutes. Okay.
Yep.
We got to go in and come out. Okay. Do you think we could do it? Do you think we could do it? No. Yeah, I don't either. But we have 5 minutes.
I've set timers and we haven't done it.
No, never.
Yeah. But that's sometimes if you rarely ask that thing of them, then that is not really to be expected of them, but they're game to try it, and to try to get it done. Yeah. That becomes the new mission, and they're always excited for a mission,
Right. And you're in matching expectations, and you're kind of setting them up to kind of prep them for what to expect when you're in there. So you're, of course, going to get them even more enlisted in getting it done, as opposed to no conversation beforehand. All of a sudden, they're just asking out of curiosity, can I have this toy? Can we go look at this? And you're just constantly like, how did you not read my mind? I'm on a time crunch.
Yeah. Yeah. The brisk walking, it wasn't a giveaway for you. Come on.
Right. Read my nonverbals.
Yeah.
Not good leadership. No.
I know you can't even read, but focus on this for a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's not, that doesn't work.
No, we're constantly expecting them to have a little bit more emotional maturity than we are. And I don't think that's probably
God, I know.
Yeah, the same thing we appreciate about them being so naive and innocent about everything is the same thing we get annoyed at them about. Why don't they know better? Because they don't. They literally don't know better.
And how many times do we need to remember that? Like, we should know better at this point.
Really? Yeah. That's the thing. You should know better, that they don't know better.
Yes. So who knew I was going to pull such good parenting, like legit parenting advice out of you guys? Here we are talking about.
We're not certified. Don't sue us.
I know that's the thing. It's like we always say, people say like, we have good advice, or I really learned something. Like, well, listen, we fail, so you don't have to. That's what we do over here. So if you consider any of it good advice, we appreciate that. Thanks. But it's not like that's easy.
It's currently in testing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
we're constantly in beta mode.
Results are TBD.
Yeah.
Don't hold us to it.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Are there any other content creators or comedians out there right now that you are big fans of?
That are like in the parenting space?
Anywhere. Who should we be following, listening? Who's got new specials out?
Oh, new specials.
Oh, let me think for a second.
I know, I'm really putting you on the spot.
I know. I have to really think about it.
Seems like an easy choice, but I'll throw this out there as the first one. Bargatze is really funny.
Nate Bargatze.
Bargatze's really funny.
In person.
I was on at the Greek recently. It was great.
Tom Papa's hilarious. He's got always kind of a funny perspective of the dad perspective.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I kind of just like it's like hearing about fatherhood, the experience of fatherhood, showing that they're involved. I don't know.
Yeah, the new takes on it are always so fun. I feel like that is what is being explored more in comedy, is like moms and dads are both like comedically kind of exploring outside of the tropes of like mom is just a miserable mess and dad is like, we have two of them. So it is nice to hear the more involved humor, and that's why I like Bargatze and stuff like that. But yeah,
he's we were talking about this, like he's on the line of a little bit of like dumb dad, like uninvolved, but the stuff that he does, it's more about like him. But I like the self-deprecating part of his comedy about himself, that he's like, look, I don't know. He admits, he's like, I don't know anything. So like,
It is playing into that, like, I don't know what kid goes to which school, and if they called me, I wouldn't know what their teacher's name is. Right. That kind of a trope.
That to be honest, is like the thing that was like sparked us to like, that was like the reason we call ourselves as the dumb dad. Is like one of our inside jokes is like, you want to see my impression of a dad on TV? And they basically just make fart noises, because that's the dad that we saw on TV for so long. And it just felt like, doesn't that just feels old? Like that. Yeah. That dad is like, that's just old. I don't want to see that anymore. Let's not do that. It's triggering. The amount of weaponized incompetence that is involved in that is like, when you really understand what that is and what that means and everything, it's like, that is so damaging in so many ways to just, well, you're better at this than I am, so that's another thing you can put on your plate. And
I would just mess it up.
It's like, oh man, that's not even fair to the person that you promised to be a teammate to.
Yeah.
Right.
in the very
Yeah.
beginning of what you signed up for, and so that kind of stuff is always just like, yeah, we're not down for that.
Yeah. No, for good reason. And I do feel like we've made so much progress, and there's always so much more to go.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And then you see a video that has that completely written all over it, and it's got 3 million likes. And you're like, oh, come on, you guys.
Yeah.
Come on, you guys.
So close and so far. Yeah. So is there anything that we didn't touch on that
I don't know.
you want to be able to encourage parents on, or anything that you like to remind parents of every time you get a chance?
I always like to remind parents you're doing better than you think you are.
That's a good one.
I feel like it's just so easy to kind of knock yourself down of how badly something went. I mean, you don't like to play on the cliche too much. If you didn't care, you wouldn't think about it. But there's some truth to that. And you are doing a better job than you think. There is it's so hard. It's easy to say to your friends when you're sitting around having coffee or whatever, oh my God, Instagram and TikTok's all lies. But then when you're on there and scrolling and you're seeing all these magical moments of these parents just crushing it, it can get frustrating and annoying, but it's no, they're in the trenches too. They just don't choose to show it. And, you're doing a better job than you think you are. You're the parent you wish you were already.
Yeah, I would say that's a fantastic one. I would say, kind of like you said it before, it's going to take energy either way. So why not choose the fun route? Make it fun.
Yeah.
Find the fun
Love
in
that.
it. Find the fun in it. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
As we're tying it in a bow, how do listeners follow you as a result of listening to you here?
Across pretty much, most social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, we are known as the Dumb Dads, at the Dumb Dads.
Mm-hmm.
We are on our podcast. The Dumb Dad podcast is pretty much on most platforms you listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
If TikTok is still around.
I don't know. Yeah, whatever.
We're still at the Dumb Dad somewhere else.
Yeah. We own that. It's us.
Talk you down.
We're the Dumb Dads.
And so the last question I ask every guest that I have on is, how are you the parent your kids need?
I would say I'm the parent my kids need, because as we touched on briefly before, I think it's important to show your kids you're human. And that is a big thing that I do, where we pull them aside, not just necessarily to always just apologize, but to explain what we're going through, what we're doing. It's not really a dig on my parents, but it was always kind of the mentor role, which is important. I always saw them as just like mom and dad, and they were in charge of me and in charge of the other things. And not that I'm not going to play that role, but I want to show them that I too am a person. Not somebody that has needs or whatever, but I'm also figuring this out. You're figuring out this, I'm figuring out this. So I've never had a kid who's played baseball before. So I'm also navigating the frustrations of whatever you're having, and just let's both be patient with each other and check in regularly as two human beings. But no, you do have to go to bed.
Having said that,
yeah.
Yes,
your pajamas are on backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am the father to my kids that they need to be by learning as I go as best I can, always admitting to mistakes I made, by apologizing to them. Like Kevin said, that is not my word is end all be all, or I am not the only example in your life. I am a very close and major resource to you, and I will offer you whatever you need. If you need advice or a listening ear or whatever, but making sure I try to meet them on their level without any judgment or any, coming into it with a pre-opinion of what's going on or what they're about to say, and just really trying to meet them at their level first and then go from there. So being their teammate as well as a manager when I need to be, but as well as much of a teammate as I can be to them.
That's so well worded. They're clearly lucky to have you. And again, legit advice behind that, because there is in vulnerability a very attractive form of leadership where you trust people and follow them more when you feel like they're being real with you. And when we try to put on this front of I know everything, I have it all together, listen to me, it's kids can see right through that. So the more that you genuinely are just genuine and like, yeah, no, I've never done this before either.
Yeah.
So let's figure this out together.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, okay, let me help you out too. And we can do this together. And that's a way better way of going about it.
That was one of the most real perspectives to gain as a parent when you realize like, oh, we have even more information available to us because of the internet. Like the world of parenting is in some ways overwhelmingly too much information, but we have access to so much more information than even our parents did. And I still don't feel like I know what I'm doing a lot of the time. So, they didn't know what they were doing either.
Right.
And neither did their parents. Neither did their parents.
When does like the grown-up part of adulthood kick in?
I don't know. Yeah, still waiting.
You got to wear more button-downs.
It's the uniform.
The uniform.
It's the uniform.
It
all goes back to the
we're all still in sweats.
In the pickup outfit.
Well, thank you guys so much. This was great. I could keep kicking your brain forever, but I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate all the resources, your content. Keep it up because we really do need that outlet. We need to be able to make fun of ourselves and know that we're not alone. And I know I can trust you to put that out there, and we can just all say, me too, my kid too, and be able to laugh about it. So thanks for being on Failing Motherhood, and thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for
having us.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Failing Motherhood. Your kids are so lucky to have you. If you loved this episode, take a screenshot right now and share it in your Instagram stories and tag me. If you're loving the podcast, be sure that you've subscribed and leave a review so we can help more moms know that they are not alone if they feel like they're failing motherhood on a daily basis. And if you're ready to transform your relationship with your strong-willed child and invest in the support you need to make it happen, schedule your free consultation using the link in the show notes. I can't wait to meet you. Thanks for coming on this journey with me. I believe in you, and I'm cheering you on.